And 1 week every month, we try to pick a subject and go in depth on it. We take what I call a deep dive on that subject. It's day 4 of what we're doing Radio Week here. Monday, we talked to Susan Douglas, author of Listening In, Radio and the American Imagination. Tuesday, we discussed news radio with our friend Joe Matthew, WBZ anchor in Boston. Yesterday, National Radio Hall of Famer Bob Edwards told us about his career in public radio. We talked about public radio in general. Today, we are taking a different route altogether. And one of our guests was the co-host of Ron and Fez show for almost 30 years. He currently hosts Bennington on Raw Dog Sirius XM Comedy Hits, Channel 99, weekdays at noon. Ladies and gentlemen, the great, the legend, the icon, Ron Bennington. Thank you very much for doing this, Ron.
Thank you very much. But as I said, I didn't host that show for almost 30 years. I did another show before that.
Which is
the Ron and Ron show. And then I did the Ron and Fez show, and now I'm doing Bennington.
I'm sorry that I got that wrong.
It's okay. I'm happy to be here on Radio Week. How are we spelling week, by the way?
W-E-A-K.
Oh, boy. See, that's what I'm pissed about. That's what I worried. That worried me. That worried me.
You may recognize a laugh and the breathing and the entire essence of our other panelists.
What's wrong with my breathing?
That's a little, a little shallow.
That was a little shot.
Starting
with a little shot.
Yeah.
He is one half of the he was one half of the Opie and Anthony show for 20 years.
I did radio before that. Okay.
Before that,
me and Ron did do radio before the big show.
He now hosts Opie and Jim Norton show on Opie Radio XM.
Jimmy doesn't want to be known and Jimmy.
How does he?
Because then he feels like that he's replacing Anthony.
So what's he?
I don't know what we call it.
Yeah, so that's a problem for us.
We kind of call it Opie with Jim Norton, but I want it to be Opie and Jimmy.
I always call it Opie and New Anthony. And I don't know whether that... I mean, it just seems like he's doing the exact same thing Anthony did.
Well, I just want to say I really appreciate you two heavy hitters coming in and doing this. All you need to do is more radio. And so it means a lot to me that you would both come in and do this.
Well, I wish you would do the prep work that are, introductions.
Well, my thing is, how much do how much time you spend on an introduction and on the past when you've got two guys like you in here? I don't know.
We usually just tell the person to sit down. We just start talking. I don't think I've ever given anyone a proper introduction.
One time I was.
By the way, I was known as Gregg Opie Hughes for a while on the radio.
And before that,
Gregg Anthony Hughes. Is that?
What did your parents call you?
I had a program director in Rochester because my real name, Gregg Hughes, and then Opie's been my nickname since I was like 12 years old. So I decided Gregg Opie Hughes would be my radio name. And a PD sat me down and says, look, Gregg Hughes is a good radio name, actually. And Opie's a good radio name, so fucking pick.
What does your wife call you?
Are you allowed to curse on this channel?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Thank you for answering.
I'm sorry.
No.
Do you know that
anything you want?
Do you know that when I was a kid, they tried to they called me Opie too, and I just fought every day until I earned their respect. I'm like, now who's? Oh, I must say, I don't know.
You can say anything you want. I came up with the idea for this channel so we could do all that.
What is the name of this channel?
Insight.
It's Insight.
Thank you.
Okay, so we get insight to
everything. Yeah, it's like NPR with a personality, a heartbeat, a comedy. A lot of comedians.
Ron just took a shot at me, so now I feel like I got to
You didn't answer my question.
Myself.
What does your wife call you?
My real name, Gregg.
She calls him Big Daddy.
Yeah,
that's a little something between them.
I heard the Opie shot by Ron Bennington, so now I got to defend myself.
Go ahead.
It's going to get ugly.
Uncross your arm.
Let it go. Yes, chill.
Closed off.
Chill, dude.
I accepted Opie because I was in, I think, 7th grade. And I guess I was the only kid in the room that didn't have a nickname. So this girl, Julie, stands up and goes, "Hey kid, we're gonna come up with a nickname for you on the spot." And I could either choose from Howdy Doody, Four Eyes, Will, for Will Robinson, I guess.
It looks like everything but cool kid.
Exactly. And then Opie.
Yeah.
And in my stupid 12-year-old brain, I'm like, all right, that's not as bad as the other ones they came up with.
But here's the thing. You're not 12 anymore. That's it.
I've admitted on my show I don't want to be called Opie anymore.
Mr. Hughes.
Mr. Hughes.
Really? I'm flattered to have Mr. Hughes joining me for this Radio Week.
But it's a brand.
Yeah.
When I turned, 30, I was too old for the name.
Yeah,
and I'm well past that now.
What do you think about branding, though, Ron Bennington? Because you've had many brands.
Yeah,
apparently.
I don't. I'm more like Clapton. I don't care about the brand. I'll be in a new band all the time.
It doesn't matter to you.
I'm bored of,
time slot changes, channel changes.
None of that bothers me.
It does not.
Just do it. Yeah, especially here. Does it matter?
No.
To anybody what station we're on, what time it is?
No, because we don't even know how many people we talk to. They won't even tell us that.
I don't think they know. I really don't think they know.
I
if they
figure
know,
it's
then
around a dozen.
I think they do know, and I'm with Ron Bennington. The number's so low, and if we knew how little amount of people we talk to, we'd be running away from this place.
The first people they would tell would be advertisers, and they don't tell them that.
Here's the deal, though. Do you even think this is radio?
No.
Oh, interesting.
No.
What would you? What?
See, we've done radio. I don't think you have, Pete.
I have not. No, you're right. I mean, I was a guest often on terrestrial radio. Promoting comedy dates. I always went into but I never hosted a show on terrestrial radio.
This is not radio. I mean,
what's this? Sirius XM or?
It's a goof. It's nonsense. I've been thinking about this a lot lately.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous what we do. It means nothing in the end. It just means nothing.
But that implies that quote radio did or does.
Yeah, in a weird way it did because
I don't know if it does.
It's the ratings, right, Ron?
Yeah, and
the ratings would keep you honest. Every day you were freaking out as those ratings came in.
Right. Which I have thought since I never did that. I've thought I would never want to do that. Like if you paid me 3 times what I make here, I wouldn't want to do that because I wouldn't be happy worrying about that all the time.
But people on TV worry about that all the time.
Sure.
That's competition. That's like saying I don't want to play football, but really at the end I don't want to know what the score was. You know what I mean? That's that's that part of the game that Ope and I played for years, that thing of what are we doing? Are we making the right move every day? Is this person talking too much? Is that person up talking enough?
But don't you feel like you guys have been doing this so long and you're so good at it, don't you want to rely on your instincts and what you think and only want people to listen who like what you're doing?
Yeah, I mean, there's truth to that. That's why we're here, but that doesn't mean that this is radio.
Yeah, and the instincts didn't work on regular radio because you would know in your soul that you're on it, you're in the zone, doing great shows, and then the ratings would come out, and it would be a fluke or whatever reason. You would have a really crappy trend. They were called.
Yeah,
it would drive you nuts. You wouldn't sleep for days. And then you had to wait a month to then justify that and get look, there's the bump up. Okay, now I can relax for a little bit. But then
for 2 weeks.
For 2 weeks, and then you had to worry about the next month that came in.
But as much as there is to complain about, and you guys aren't shy about complaining, specifically about your situation here at Sirius XM, is it not better? Are you not happier? Are you not losing sleep the way you just said, Opie, because you don't have to worry about those same types of concerns with the ratings, not to mention the people telling you what to do that don't know?
Oh, it's a great gig. No one tells you what to do, and you can rely on your instincts better here. You're absolutely right.
And yet, in the same way, if you were writing pop music, you would want to know whether your song was charting or not, right? That's the thing. You never get that part of it either.
Yeah.
But don't you feel like you do in other ways now with, the phones or social media?
Don't pay attention to that. That's not real.
Do you feel like he really doesn't? Listen, Ron to me is the most intimidating guy in the building / the business because I only get intimidated by one type of person, the type of person that I never know what they're thinking. And I feel like that's his mastery. I never know what to believe, what he's thinking. In a way, I feel like that's what makes him a genius. And I don't want you to speak. I'd like to get Opie's reaction, what I just said. I'm not trying to kiss your ass. I'm just saying that.
I'm intimidated by Ron.
Are you?
Yeah.
Because of that, though?
His guard is up. His guard is up. It's tough to figure out what he's thinking at times.
It's always tough. I don't know if he's doing, how the hackiest thing to say is I don't know if someone's doing a bit, but usually you do when you yourself are always doing bits.
Yeah.
But I
always end a bit with like a smirk or a smile, not Ron Bennington.
Right. He doesn't?
No, not at all.
I'm not here to please you, gentlemen. I think that's what gets to you. I'm doing something different. That's all.
He will never admit this, but he's the greatest puppet master ever. I've been called a puppet master over the years, but I bow to Ron as far as puppet masters.
My wife calls me a puppet master, but no one else in the business has ever called me that. I manipulate family things, but nothing here.
Yeah.
Why?
Because I want everybody to get along.
Oh, you're one of those guys.
That's
my.
You like me. You like me.
I like turmoil.
Yeah.
It's called being a stand-up comedian. You head into that. Now, neither of you ever pursued that, but both of you work with comedians.
Ron did.
Ron, did you do stand-up?
Yeah, I started as a stand-up. Yeah. I got my own club. There's been no prep work to this show whatsoever.
But you can't. But that's the thing about you. You didn't. You obviously didn't need to do that. And,
no.
And you and comedians respect both of you guys as much as they respect other comedians, which, as you know, is a rarity.
More
probably
than
more.
Comedians. Yeah, they respect us more.
So you would think a channel like Insight would maybe
have some insight,
a little prep.
Who's your team? Who put this together for you?
I could tell you everything about your life. I'm totally prepared.
All right, what is my side business?
You have a side business.
Well, say there you go.
I'm telling you that you have one. You have a boat thing going on.
Yeah.
You have a boat company, Bennington Boats, and I called them today.
What'd they say?
They said they've never heard of it. But I appreciate the bit. I do.
Ron,
can I just read the email that Ron's producer sent my producer?
Sure, please do, Pete. Please do.
This is no, this is about a church shooting. Let's go on to another email.
I'm against that.
I can't find it. If you find it, Alfred,
it's no big deal.
Can I say this? I think it's fascinating that Ron Bennington stepped away from stand-up because I think he would have been an amazing.
Yeah,
stand-up
well, that's
if he kept with it. So my question would be, why did you do that, Ron?
No
Bennington?
one can do that, by the way.
What do you mean?
You can't step away from stand-up. It's Artie Lang will tell you it's far more addictive than
Ron
heroin.
chose.
But that's no one does that. I don't know why he chose that. I don't know where he gets the confidence or the arrogance to stop doing something that he knows he could be very successful at.
I think the answer would be he was bitten by the radio bug, though.
There was some amount of that in the structure of radio. I don't think what I ever did on stage is even slightly different than anything I ever did on radio. And I brought this up yesterday on my show. It's no different than anything I ever did on a street corner. I was never one of these guys of, let me just keep trying to work my craft. And I'm the same way. I don't worry about that in radio either. Just be that guy and go in and do your show, and that's it.
What about the lack of respect radio guys got for a long time? Over comics.
Again, that's the thing. Is that who you're looking to get feedback from? Do you really fucking care if,
I mean, we always looked at it as the scourge of entertainment, though, for a long time. That always bothered me.
Well,
because this radio thing is not easy. It is not an easy thing.
Do you think that you both make it look easy, though?
I think it's great that he unfolded his arms. I'm very, very happy about that.
What was that about?
I feel relaxed now.
You felt okay.
Yeah, I think that was my way of going, don't ask me anything. But now I'm all right. All right, ask me.
You think it was
something.
going to be shots?
There's been a few shots.
The Opie line?
Yeah, the Opie line from Ron.
I always heard that about you, as though, like, when everyone's busting balls, you don't like it at all. You don't like the...
There's a sensitivity and a vulnerability about Opie that I think...
I'm trying to get better with that.
Would rather not...
Ron's right. I'm trying, yeah.
I mean, that wasn't an aggressive move. That was,
I was just kidding.
It was having fun, but you were like locked in.
Oh, really?
Like,
No,
you were really.
I was just joking.
Your legs were also crossed.
Yeah, your legs were crossed. Your arms
were crossed. My legs are crossed. You got.
I don't know. Nor do I know if Ron Bennington has a boat company, but I do my research.
Why would anyone try to look that up? Whether I had a boat company or not?
Because I'm not gonna allow you to come on my program.
First of all, you act like I wanted to come on this program.
No, I begged.
Yeah, it's very annoying to be asked to be on somebody else's show and then to hear someone say, I'm not going to allow you to come in here. You're like, what are you talking about?
Because I didn't want you to come in here and make an ass of me by me buying into that.
Like, look what we're saying when you're saying that Ope is locked in.
You're locked in.
We should be sitting here like three dudes, right? Yeah. And all of a sudden you're using your radio voice, and I am not going to allow, and you're acting like I'm
father voice,
like I'm fucking Al Sharpton. I don't give a shit.
I think he's controlling Ron.
He's about to walk out of here.
I think you want to control this.
And if I walked out, it would be out of boredom because I do my own show in 45 minutes.
I know, but I wanted you to come in here because I think that you're the master at this, but I didn't want to be a victim of the master.
But here's the deal:
on this show,
you're acting like, I'm going to have you on my show. And I'm checking up on everything. Where's the water, Ope? Did you ever have anyone
I'm
in
just
years
using the Perel over
that you didn't have some water for your guests?
Yeah, how about those little bottles of water?
I have a big problem with plastic bottles of water, so I don't provide them.
So this is about you, not the other people.
We should have
not your guests. It's about you.
Can we get you?
That's a real thing.
Yeah, I hate the plastic.
Why?
Another way I think, speaking of being hoodwinked, the idea of paying for water is the one I think the dumbest things we've ever done as human beings, Americans. And then I'm Mr. Environmental, so there's that issue of.
So we have to go thirsty.
No, there is some bottled water, but it's years old.
You know, when you broadcast, you lose a lot. You know, you get dehydrated.
What do you do? You send somebody down to the river with a hat? What happens here? What the hell goes on this Insight station?
We have this idea that where you could reuse a mug or a cup and fill it up in the sink in the kitchen here.
What are you worried about? We're going to run out of plastic? Is that the deal? What is it?
I mean, can we please get back to radio?
Controlling.
I mean,
control.
It really is controlling.
Never control the conversation.
Here's my thing. I'm known as an interviewer myself. Yeah. I let the conversation go where it goes. I don't do the kind of incorrect prep that you do. You know what I mean?
Get back on point.
Yes. I just sit there and have a conversation. I feel like I've been fucking pulled over on this show.
Ron Bennington is here, and so is Opie. How do you feel about resetting in radio the way I just did? Is that
well? If you worked in radio, you got to reset, but not on Sirius. Yeah. People can read.
You don't, because you never need to do it because it goes across on their screen.
Don't have to reset.
Yeah,
you never do it. You do it, all the time.
Because it's old habits.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to get rid of old habits, being on satellite radio.
I like when you do it because sometimes I'm listening for, it's not on the screen. I'm like, who is that in there? And Dan Soder.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I like when you do it, but.
Right. You don't know who Dan Soder is?
I didn't know his voice at one point, maybe, and now I did. He's a great guy, by the way.
Very fun.
Really nice guy. One of those not. So
no, I can't. I love that.
Who do you ever listen, Ron, to anybody else?
No, I've listened. If I listen to anybody, it's Ope when I wake up. But then I'll be like that. By that point, where you start to talk along with it, and I'm like, I got to turn this off. I'll end up doing it during my show.
Who did you look up to though in the early days?
First of all, I never even thought about radio before I started doing it. So then the guys that I kind of looked up to were the older dudes who had been doing radio in those markets. Talk radio was Bob Lassiter, Neil, now I can't even think of his name, a legendary guy out of Miami. Neil.
Oh, of course.
What the fuck has happened to me?
I know who you're talking about.
Armstrong.
Yes, Neil Armstrong.
Neil Armstrong, yeah.
He used to do this show about the moon. Yeah. That was so good.
I feel like the greatest clip on Neil Rogers.
Neil Rogers,
yeah.
Crazy.
He was a legend.
And Opie, the only reason, I'm not going to say the only reason, but the best thing for me ever was that Opie's mentor started listening to my show when I first started here and told him, gave him my blessing. For me, there's no reason and I wouldn't blame him for Opie to even pay me any attention, respect. But as soon as I feel like Brother Wease started listening to my show and told you, I was like, man, that really got me in with Opie, at least in the door, which meant a lot to me.
Does Wease hate plastic?
Yeah, he's
the same way.
Yeah, he's all about not doing the plastic thing.
How do you feel about environmental issues at all? I mean, you got a boat company.
See,
yeah, we
could have went with that thing. It could have been Gregg. You're so paranoid.
You know what I said? I said we talked about it. I was like, this boat company thing. What is this? And then I looked into it and I called. And then Chris goes, "Don't bring it up." What did you say? He said, I think something like, with Ron,
I said
you will never, ever win it.
I said, you're never going to come out on top.
Yes, that's what he said.
That's good.
He knows. I should have listened to him.
Brother Wease, though, is the guy for me.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
How so?
I don't know. He's just a natural at it. And he's, like Ron said, he just has a conversation. The best is to be able to hang out with Brother Wease when he's not on the radio. He's doing the exact same thing. Just, it's an adventure. I go up to Rochester, which is not when you have time, that you could go anywhere. I pick Rochester because I'll spend an afternoon with Brother Wease. It's more entertaining than going down to the Caribbean. He has conversations with every single person he comes across during the day. And it's fascinating.
Is he a Vietnam vet?
Yeah.
Yeah, I find that.
He openly admits that he went back to Vietnam because he was having a good time. Not many vets will say that.
Well,
he's a tough dude.
I think once you shoot a kid and then you can't do it anywhere else. Speaking of which, why is this young, attractive man sitting here with us? Who's this?
Alfred is my producer. He's a big He's a longtime radio guy, a student of radio. He's an awesome producer and a big fan of both of you guys.
I actually want to go back to what you guys were talking
he wants
earlier.
to be.
Yeah, good.
What shows did you work on? So I know where this is coming from.
I worked in public radio here in New York City, but I also worked in Portland, Maine market for a little bit.
His brother is Bill Schultz, who is on Fox News Red Eye, who was good friends with Anthony Cumia for a long time. He knows a lot of people through.
Dude, let's not start that. Yeah.
What happened to Bill?
He's had a few articles come out in the New York Times. He's still writing.
All right,
he's a writer.
He's a good dude.
I agree. But you guys are talking about how this isn't radio. And I do agree with that. This really isn't radio, especially because it's so spread out. There's so many shows. There's no one really overseeing anything. And it's just sort of, it's not, there's no local ratings. There's no local, commercials, no local anything. But, wouldn't there be people in the 90s that were saying in the 90s, oh, well, this isn't radio either?
No.
So doesn't then radio evolve and become so many different things anyways?
First of all, this is a much better conversation. This is this is the conversation I was hoping to have.
We're going to shift to the right, if that's okay, Pete.
Why are you moving my sign in front of me?
Yeah, I when I went to WNEW, they didn't want to acknowledge me because I wasn't one of those old guys that were there forever. Yeah. So you're not wrong. It does evolve.
It evolves. Yeah. But we still have to call it radio.
Why do you think it wasn't radio then? Because of all the companies coming together?
I think all of it's radio in the broad sense of the word, but I think that there were people then that would probably look at the hijinks some of you guys were up to and look at sort of how the rules had changed and how sort of decorum and lack of a local news content was not real radio, perhaps. And I think that you guys would argue that it was, and I think it was too. And I think you can also maybe make a similar argument that Sirius XM is also radio too.
That's why.
What about podcasting?
I think when I hear a podcast, I think that it's radio. I know it's not, but I'm like, that's radio. That's a radio show.
I'm surprised that they limit themselves when I listen to any podcast.
Yes.
I'm like, why do you act like
they're all doing the same
have
show?
A fucking PD. You know what I mean? Why are you acting,
The thing
they're all doing the same show. They're just all, for the most part, I'm bored with podcasts in general, but, they all just interview each other.
I think
it's like you could do, like Ron just said, you could do anything and they choose not to for whatever reason. You're on the road as a comic. Why wouldn't you just be doing your podcast from the bus station or a park bench or whatever, your hotel room? But so
there's no one to tell them any different. That's the thing.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, this is what radio is supposed to sound like, so I'll do it. Mm-hmm. But there is no reason for that. I mean, if there was supposed to be any freedom, it would have been podcasting.
I listen to both of your shows in replay, and enjoy them just as much.
Who's better?
Ron is better at some things and Opie is better at other things. Jesus.
Oh. God.
Which kid do you love more of yours?
He can't commit.
What am I supposed to say?
He can't commit to anything.
And I think that the live aspect is so great.
Important.
It's so great. And the idea that you can take calls and now social media and tweets and, that you can have the guest isn't exclusive, obviously, to radio versus podcast, but just being live to me is so important.
I completely agree.
Even though
with
I
you.
enjoy your shows in replay.
When I know something's live, I'll definitely stay longer.
Which is not what you get with a podcast.
But it's also never what you got with the Tonight Show. You know what I mean? Like there's not live TV, and the emphasis of the tweets and the phone calls. That's such a tiny part of anyone's audience ever. It's the same people. If Rush Limbaugh has the same guys who get up every day and are trying to get through to him, no matter how many listeners that he has.
You're saying, I'm sorry, the call volume isn't representative of the size of the audience?
Not even the volume, but even those callers don't represent. Yes,
right?
because they're obsessive, fucking crazy people.
You only meet a very tiny percent of your audience in the end. Extremely small percentage.
Both of you guys have never had, I feel like, any issue with insulting a listener, your audience, worrying about. I mean, that's integrity.
You worry about that?
So probably more than you, but not that much.
Why?
It's my psychology. It's my insecurity. I mean, it's my massive desire.
You let your callers go on too long. A caller should only be on for.
You're saying I do?
Yeah. A caller should only be on for just enough to set the table to change the conversation. to let a caller be on for 5 minutes, 10 minutes. No one wants to hear that.
First of all, I'm flattered that you listened that time.
No, I'm just guessing.
Yeah.
This is literally a guess. But what you're saying that you're afraid to say to somebody, you're stupid, your opinions are dumb, you know.
No, not necessarily. I mean, if I'm going to do it, I want to do it, you know, in a witty way but I don't.
You don't get down and dirty sometimes?
Sometimes I certainly do, right? I mean,
because that's fun to listen to.
I definitely let people probably go on for a while.
Yeah,
I just
never
don't
do that.
I don't think I feel like probably I have as much to say as certainly as you do, Ron. Like when I listen to you because I actually want to hear what you have to say. I don't think people necessarily listen to the show to hear what I have to say, which is, I like to think unique about the program, because otherwise, usually you would think that show would never succeed. But I like my guests.
Well, where does that come from? I would assume they want to hear what you're saying.
I'd rather ask questions than give answers.
So you're guarded. Yeah.
It's no. It's
Tough
not that I'm guarded.
Yeah, I don't want any opinion.
Yeah.
No. It's not. It's not that I'm guarded. I always give my opinion, probably too much. It sucks. It's ignorant a lot. When I hear Ron talk about shit that, like, I look at him, I'm like, how does he know about that? A reference like 1981, like it was yesterday, or anything from arts and entertainment, like just to history. Like, how does one person know that much? That's how I feel when I listen. That's why I think you're good, because that's the same thing with Stephen Colbert. Same thing. I worked there for years. Just never forgets a thing. That's unique to people.
I just forgot Neil Rogers' name, who I says a guy who was a friend of mine. But here's the thing: do you read?
Way too much. Every day.
So you think about what you read?
3 hours.
No, not prep. I mean, do you read for your own?
I don't
interest?
watch TV. All I do is read. I really don't watch TV.
Well, you'd pick up a few things if you watched the TV.
Yeah, I'd rather read.
You don't watch sports?
Yeah, I do. I watch women's soccer. I'm obsessed with the women's soccer. I'm also attracted to almost all of them. I'm also gay.
Well, so are they. So you're going to miss that the whole way through.
I feel like
Ron finds very unique things. That's what I like about Ron. You know, he talks about things most people aren't. You know, he'll go a little deeper with music and concepts and things like that. Things of that ilk.
How do you feel like you express yourself? Do you feel like you express your interest?
There's a reason you don't talk about certain controversial issues.
Because I don't care in the end.
I don't care.
What's he dodging?
No, I'm trying to be more open about myself and what I'm into.
I'd love to hear you talk more about your marriage and your kids. I once heard you say in a conversation about rape jokes that you admitted, you're like, you know what? To be honest with you, I definitely have changed a bit having a daughter, and I feel the same way. And I love that. And I was like, I wanted more of that, and it stopped. Yeah,
I felt like one version of this radio show that I've done over the years, I was kind of shut out as far as talking about that stuff. So I just shut down.
What about this version?
I would like to talk more about, you know, raising kids as an older guy and being married and all that. Absolutely.
You too, Ron. I feel like I don't even know anything about you.
I was just going to say to Opie, I think the best thing that you could do for your wife and kids is to not talk about them.
Yeah.
Because they didn't sign up for this. Right. And this isn't you want to turn this into a fucking reality show where everything that's going on in your life becomes entertainment. This is a giant planet. And there's so many things to talk about. And the people that just go and parade their family out there, I wouldn't even dream of it.
I gotta adjust what I said though, because I completely agree with Ron on that point as well. But I don't want to talk about specifics, but just in general.
Because your interests change, and now you're thinking about schools or whatever.
Yeah. So specifics. I mean, people ask the names of my kids, and if they need to figure that out on their own, whatever. But I don't really mention them by name or anything.
Joining me now, my wife and daughter on the phone.
Is that right? Is that mine? What's going on? You're going to yell at them now like you never cooked the food? I mean, I know a million guys who would do those shows even before, reality.
No.
And I always thought it sucked.
I like to bring in my wife and kids in terms of bashing myself. So what I did wrong, how I did this thing wrong. I've learned definitely how to be a better parent from exposing my what I perceive as vulnerabilities and weaknesses, and have listeners,
foibles,
or foibles, and have listeners be like, try it this way. I'm 50, my kid's all grown up. We did this, and it's changed me and made me a better parent. And then often I will take that and share it with my audience, like so and so told me to try to do this. So I'd rather than actually even mention their names or too specifically.
I'd rather talk about it as far as like on a peripheral, but not.
But now you say
not specific things that have happened, raising a daughter and a son.
But you're now hosting your show with your.
Well, she's an adult now.
So she has free will to.
First of all, that's her opinion, and her stories belong to her in the same way Opie's stories belong to him. Other than when you get to these stories hurt, or am I using people in my life just as entertainment?
Right.
But what if I call in or ask you right now about your philosophy on being a father to a daughter? I mean, what I would ask you for advice. I mean,
I would say it literally comes down to luck. You know what I mean? How people are with their kids. The most that you could do for your kids is to kind of be there and, bounce off them, but stop fucking putting your will all over the place. I think that you see insecurity in parents when they're obsessed with their children.
That's a great answer.
Yeah, that just stabbed me in the heart.
He's right, though.
It's true, man.
He could have said, I see insecurity with Pete Dominick.
It comes down to luck in the end.
It is.
You can do everything right and think you're raising them perfectly, and they could still be fuck-ups.
And everybody wants to go back.
And that's what scares the hell out of me as being a parent. He's absolutely right. I know a lot of people that did the right thing.
But you still try. That doesn't mean you don't try to still.
No, you got to try to teach them as much as possible and give them the skill set.
Did you run
the skills to figure out stuff when they're faced with some pretty heavy stuff in this life?
But it's not like you ever said to your daughter when she was little, you got to look both ways. You never didn't say that, like, to be lucky.
No, I was just looking out the window laughing. Like, she's going to tell her. She's going to run.
I think she's got
But did you all I wanted from my parents was a little escape time from them when I was a kid. I was talking about this yesterday because a friend of mine I grew up with died. I felt like my friends that I grew up with forged my personality at least as much as my parents, and much more than any school or coach or any bullshit structured thing that they tried to put on me. And that's not saying that it's even better. I'm just saying that's the truth.
But we can pick where we live and where our kids go to school to some extent to have them grow up in a community and establish friendships with people who are
white. Is that what you're after? White?
No, I like the multiculturalism in my
as long as they're not, I
don't want my daughters dating anybody non-white, but
it's not true multicultural though. It's not like your kid goes to school with like a ghetto kid.
Yeah, they do.
For real?
Yeah, we have.
Because we have
a lot of parents complaining about how many poor people there are living in our community and going to our school, and we have to support them. All that stuff.
This is where I will talk about peripheral.
And then we all have all
my kids' school,
private school. Very wealthy.
I'm not even going to say it. My kids' school though. They have this multicultural thing, and it's all a joke. It's not true multicultural.
Yes, it is. Because the idea of them seeing someone that looks different.
A black kid?
Yeah, it's important. I think I grew up in all white. Nothing. There was nothing. We had a couple adopted Korean kids. I think just the idea of seeing someone.
But they act like
I went to college with these black guys and I started touching their hair and their skin. I mean, seriously, I didn't know anything.
But multicultural, you have to be on the level. Financially,
I'm really embarrassed right now. You said that.
Right. And financially, you have to be on the level.
Why? Why don't you look at me?
Because you're talking about touching people's skin and hair.
I did do that, though. I did it.
I was amazed when I first started seeing black kids. So I'm with you, Pete.
Well, see, that's what I'm saying.
I was a basketball player, and I had to guard a guy that was dark as night, and it scared the hell out of me because I just didn't understand it at the time. So I'm kind of with you.
I'm still stuck on the idea that I know Ron is just really doesn't want to be here and is doing me a favor.
He wants to be here. This is what he does.
This is what he does. Door, and I can see the door in the closet.
I'm afraid because I got to take one break, and I'm terrified he's going to leave.
His body language is saying, "I want out."
I know. That's why I'm.
I know him a long time. He's enjoying this.
He's enjoying. Leaning down.
His
ready
chest
to run out of the room.
The sign is falling on him.
Old school sign.
Sign just is falling on Ron. Your chest hair is saying I want to get out of here as well.
So
by the way.
well, you want to touch it? Is that it?
Brings you back.
So listen,
oh wow, that was dramatic.
Edgy, yeah.
Very, very
shock
dramatic.
jock.
I didn't realize we were in the shock
I
jock
threw
world
the
again.
sign down.
Wow. Man.
When's your break?
In a minute, but
Can you let me make my multicultural point?
I'm sorry
Because it's important. It's multicultural as long as you have a certain amount of money to get into the school. It's not true multicultural where people come from very different financial backgrounds as well.
I'm guessing that's not true. I'm guessing that
In your school?
No, in your kid's school. I'm guessing.
In
No.
my, that's what I'm saying. In
There's
my,
also always opportunity for
in
lower
my
income.
school, it's everyone is at a level financially.
He goes to
and they
school-
give away maybe 1 or 2 scholarships and make believe they're the most amazing
His
school
kids-
in New York City.
His kids go to school with John Legend's kid, so they feel really good. Like, oh, it's nice he made a black friend.
Do you, when you're famous and wealthy like you are, Ope, do you want your kids to be friends with the other famous kids?
No, I don't know. God,
You don't think
no.
about that?
Please don't think
Make
that.
friends with Will
Oh,
Smith.
God.
His kids play with Anthony's girlfriends. That's where he is right now.
Do you?
I just want them to, be friends with good, solid kids. I don't care. There's a celebrity that is in my son's school, which I won't name.
Let's
whatever.
just guess, though.
Yeah, go ahead.
And-
Give us a hint.
And everyone,
Bill Murray.
Everyone freaks out, and they were trying to get their kid in this person's daughter's classroom.
Malia Obama.
And they were blowing off the fact that maybe it would be better off if they're in this class or in the early program. They're like, they all found out when this celebrity's kid was going to school because it's different times. And they all were trying to do the exact same time, hoping they would be in the same classroom. That's crazy,
All right,
right?
I'm gonna make a guess. I think it's Pete Barbuti. I'm gonna go that deep. Well, he was a comic in the 60s.
Oh, my God.
A really weird reference point. He did the famous S-Card Go joke.
I don't know this guy.
What I do love about both your shows and your styles, I think is similar. It's fair to say is you do what you said earlier. Just let it go, and I believe in that. Whatever happens,
It's the
happens.
Frozen theory.
Yeah, it's the improv.
It's Frozen.
But
Let it go.
I do want it. But I do feel like having the opportunity to ask you questions on or off the air whenever I get time with both you guys, mainly Ron, because Ope usually says hi Pete and walks by. But I've cornered
Because
you
I'm
many
in the middle
times.
of my show when
Well,
you
a lot of
pull me
times it's
aside.
in the men's
open
room.
up a little more, though.
In the
That's
men's,
what I
not
do.
you.
I mentor
What
people.
the-
I've
That's
never
my
seen
thing.
you on the 37th floor ever.
No, because I
haven't been there either.
I got to a point. I used to be a radio rat where I would stay at a radio station all day long, and you realize that the longer you stay around here, it's poison. So I get here about a half hour before the show, and right when it's over, I am out. I talk to my guys real fast with whatever we need to do, and thank God because of technology and texting and all, we could work on the show all day long. But it's important to me to get out of this building immediately.
But if I want a Yoda, I know Ron will be there for me in the end.
What is it you want to know?
Do you ever feel after an
I
hour?
honestly don't.
He doesn't feel
I
it
don't
all.
feel it all.
After an hour or a show, do you look back and go, man, that was awesome, or that sucked? Do
No.
you reevaluate?
There's nothing you can do, man. We're making sandcastles here. It doesn't mean
But you don't
shit.
acknowledge when something is really working and it doesn't give you a good feeling?
I have never had one show where I went, that's the show I would say that's the show I've ever
I don't
wanted to
buy
But
do.
don't you enjoy it for a second and go, wow, man, today
Yeah.
everything worked.
No, I never had that. I never had that show. I'm never going to embrace it.
But you also know when you have a bad segment.
Yeah, of course you do.
Doesn't
But
that drive you
again,
nuts for a little while until you get a chance to
no, because that means that you're pushing it. You're trying to do it. It's like if I left a coffee shop, I'm not going to sit around and go, oh, how did that conversation go?
Yeah.
I could have fucking jumped in more. Or I overtalked that. No, it's craziness. You just got to.
Jenny Hutt just texted me.
Exactly.
Why wasn't I booked for Radio Week? I should list the names who I booked. And
Who else did you book?
well, Bob Edwards was on.
All right.
We had Joe Matthews, the morning drive news guy in Boston, used to work here. I have you two. Tomorrow I've got Andrew Wilco and Rich Davis, who are also Sirius XM guys. So maybe I should add Jenny. I don't know. Sorry, Jenny.
Well, do a Periscope with her.
Weren't you hoping he was going to have bigger names than us?
Yeah,
in a way.
Yeah, we're the biggest names.
I know that's kind of awkward, isn't it?
Is that
Here
what
you
it's-
are, for sure.
Maybe one guy that's just above us.
What
would
do you?
have been
But
nice.
so I feel like you obviously you disagree with him, and I definitely think you evaluate today's show, the guests, everything.
Not as much as I used to. I think I'm leaning. I think I'm heading more toward Ron's philosophy. I know we're very different in that way. I would go home with these shows. I would go home. If I had a bad show, I couldn't wait to crack the mic the next day.
That's how I feel.
To do a redo and go, okay, that's out of the way now, because now, look, I know I'm good at this, thank God. I'm showing it today, because I certainly didn't yesterday.
So you doubt that you have talent when you do that?
No, I get frustrated, like, fuck that.
That you
just
can't
didn't
do
work.
It. Yeah.
Yeah.
See,
I don't know if I don't doubt my God, I hate to say it that way, but I don't doubt my talent anymore. Like maybe in the early years of radio, certainly. You're
I think
you feel like you're a fraud. Like, really, they allow me to do this, but not so much. But I'm competitive too, and I want to, make sure I'm pushing the best product forward I can.
I would actually say this: even with someone's craft, I don't respect it. You know what I mean? If someone has craft, I'm like, so what? Who can't? I only respect talent.
You don't respect talent?
I do respect talent. But I think if you can do this or you can do stand up, it's because and I'm gonna just put it out there that you were kind of born with it. That's all. You know what I mean? And the people that work at it, like how many stand-ups do you know that aren't really funny, but they work real hard and they craft and they're good writers and all that? And you probably, in the back of your mind, don't respect them as you would like Patrice O'Neill or a Colin Quinn who can just walk out there and do it.
There's a handful of guys, there's only a handful of guys, in my opinion, that are just so raw, that have that
are naturally funny.
No, there's a lot of guys that are naturally funny, but there's not a lot of guys that don't have to work at it. That seemingly don't have to work at it.
I'm not saying you don't have to work at it, but I'm saying that's the least respectful part of this whole thing.
I felt like I knew Patrice O'Neill pretty well. I have no idea to this day if he was just making it up when he went on that stage.
No, but he wasn't, because you would see him do a lot of the same stuff over and over.
But where did he write? Up there, right?
I think he was one of the bravest comics ever, because he just went with it on stage.
Also one of the meanest guys, man.
Not really. He was a teddy bear.
To you.
No. You know why? Because we didn't touch him. We weren't rubbing his skin.
Exactly. We didn't.
He respected that.
We didn't have the look of amazement in our eyes.
We didn't see him as different.
Yes. Wow, a black person. Can I touch your hair?
When I first met him, I wiped cocoa butter on his elbows, and I did.
Of course, Patrice wrote. That's not my point, Pete. If you would do a little insight, of course,
that's the name.
Of course, Seinfeld.
Of course, he wrote, but he presented it in such a way it made you think: is this guy that damn good and just winging this as a sit
Don't
here
get me wrong. No one
at the theater
could hold the table the way that Patrice could. He's a perfect example to bring up. Yeah. Absolutely. I think Artie Lang is that way. I think David Tell is that way. And we'll find out more. Can I take a break now? Will you stay, please, Ron?
I just want to say one thing. At Bennington Boats, we've got pontoons this summer. Take the whole family out there, and you're going to enjoy it. What's the website? I think it's BenningtonBoats.com.
Bennington Marine, actually.
BenningtonMarine.com.
Wonderful website.
Pontoons.
I don't know the storyline.
When we come back, Alfred will tell you the storyline. Okay. He'll read the email from Ron Bennington's
producer. It was great being here, man.
No, you're not leaving.
What time's please the show over?
At the end of the hour. I got 20 more minutes. Can you please stay, Ron?
He's got a show to do.
Yeah, that's when my show starts.
All right, if you got to go, we'll see if Ron stays. And if you leave, Opie's going to leave.
You got to leave. But you're going to look like, you know what?
We'll be right back, either with Ron Bennington and Opie or not.
Go find water.
Hi, I'm Pete Dominick, and this is Stand Up on Insight. And this is Radio Week, so we thought we'd bring in two of the greatest talents in radio, certainly here at Sirius XM. Opie is here, and so is Ron Bennington.
Well,
Ron, thanks for staying.
Well, of course he left. You know he was going to leave.
I didn't.
And I just want the people to know that I'm not staying here because I'm needy. I'm staying here
out of respect for me,
because I committed to this with Pete Dominick. We've been talking about this for a long time, so I will stay for the next 10 minutes.
I'm glad I've got you.
All right, but I'm not needy because Ron spun that before he left.
But Ron is, to be fair, as Alfred, I'll give him the point. I don't know if I know anybody who gives less of a shit apparently about what people think.
Yeah,
I mean, you give a lot less of a shit than I do.
Yeah,
but you care more than Ron does.
Oh yeah,
and every other human.
I still can't figure out Ron. I've known him for
really.
I don't know, man.
You can't. You still
15 years, maybe longer. Longer now. Wow.
16, and you still never
years.
Know
what he's thinking. No, you nailed that. Yeah, you nailed that. Do you get? Because we were talking about being stressed out about radio, and if you have a bad show, you know, I take it home with me and stuff like that. Do you have the radio dreams?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't know
what's
if
your
it's the
radio
same.
dream? Because I was in music radio. Is he coming back?
Ron's coming back. I just went
He's not
from.
coming back. This is like,
He got
he's
his own
coming back.
water.
He had to get his own water.
I'll tell you what.
Ron, they got his water.
Talk about a swing of emotions from
It'd be
feeling
so great if like he left a hat here and just grabs it and walks away.
Thank God you came back because I went to some go-to material.
Is that right?
Radio dreams. I went there with Pete.
He did not think I could.
Did you really just do radio dreams?
Yes.
And you bought? That's worse than Bennington Marine.
I went radio dreams.
I really trusted him.
And he was very excited.
Yeah.
He was
I
like,
trust
oh, I get
Opie
those.
so much more than I trust you. So I was like, yeah,
You
I
really-
get those not knowing what they are.
You really shouldn't trust me.
Wow.
You really
I
shouldn't
know
trust
I
me.
shouldn't, but I trust you more than I felt like I trusted Ron.
You know,
And
the record that, you know,
Yeah, I can't get back to the studio.
the record that's ending and I can't find the next record.
I can't get in. It's
My dreams
just
are-
dead air.
Well, I have stand-up dreams, though. So they're,
Is it an odd-shaped room? Always in a weird-shaped room?
No. No, it's always in the same theater in Washington.
Why that?
Because it's an actual thing that happened. That's what I have, because that's way worse. Failing at stand-up is way worse than failing at radio, because you don't necessarily know.
What is that dream, though? They're not laughing, and they're just sitting there staring at you.
Well, I had-
and they're like the pressure of coming up with one line that'll turn them around.
It happened. My radio dream, the thing I was kind of concerned about, happened last year at a college when this girl, I found out, she kept making a noise. I didn't know who was making a noise, so they were heckling me. And I go, I demand now at this point, if you're going to do it when I ask you to. And she goes, it was me and I have Tourette's. And I was like, well, that's the hackiest, hokiest thing in my mind. I'm like, and then she got up, walked out, and just screamed cries.
And then you should have openly laughed.
I did.
Good.
I did. I was like, it's not my fault. I didn't know that. I certainly
I
wouldn't
couldn't
make
live
anybody
like you.
feel.
I couldn't be that way.
Let's do a little insight with you, Pete. Why is it that stand-up comics, Ron would know the answer to this as well.
Yeah, let him in.
Why are you guys okay with bombing? Because it's radio. I guess that goes back to what we were talking about earlier, too. I can't imagine being okay with
You
bombing.
have to be, because it's the only way to succeed.
But you're up there and everything is not working, and you guys like are all right with that. That is so strange to me.
Happened to me yesterday.
Do you lose sleep over that?
No, I want it to happen.
You just know
It's
you suck that day, or do you blame the crowd?
No, I never ever blame the crowd. I always blame myself. Yesterday, the crowd was third, fourth, and fifth graders at my daughter's school, and they weren't listening. It was the worst feeling.
Why would you take that gig, Pete?
This is my kid's school. It was an environmental thing.
My kids' school, they're always trying to get me
That's
to do
all I
something.
got.
I say no to all
I'm
of
not
that.
gonna go volunteer.
Say no to all that.
Can I just tell you something?
bake sale.
Because you're always asking
I'm not
about
working
radio.
the bake sale table, no.
All right, here's a little radio tip for you. Never keep the same guest on after a commercial break. You see how everything changed here and we lost the whole flow? You know what I mean? Now we're back. We're trying to make up shit. Always. They're inside one break and then they're gone.
Yeah, why did you have to break there? Just break at the end of the show. Or our segment.
We were cruising.
I told him to.
We were cruising.
Here's why. Because I wanted him to break a lot earlier than he did, because now we have the awkward 4 minutes where there's no time to even try to make up momentum.
But do
Yeah,
you
it's just
feel
we really went out.
I think
you
if
know
we
what I mean?
break-
we were killing.
If
This
we
show
broke
was
earlier,
killing.
there was a natural part where I really think there would have been a great break.
Yeah.
And we
Where was
would have
the
had
natural part?
20 minutes afterwards. And now we have
I would
4.
never. I never bring a guest back after a break. That's just it.
Are there other
It's just
rules
done.
like that you follow? I feel like there are no rules.
Well, a little inside thing, but I finally brought it to the actual show. I was the guy that always panicked, and a segment would go really well, and it was obvious it was time for the guest to go. And then I would panic right before going to commercial
Yeah,
and tell the guy, well, you can stick around if you want. And
Always a mistake.
Jimmy and Anthony would look at me like, what the fuck is wrong with you? But I would panic. I don't do that anymore, though.
I panic sometimes.
now
in
I
my
say
own head.
beat it.
Yeah.
Where was the natural place we should have broke there?
There was a place
Better
where
not be-
Pete, there was a moment of silence and Pete shoveled his papers and was going to turn and start a new subject. And I thought, why don't we break there so then we can move on to and
Thanks for letting
build
me
up
know.
new momentum.
Thanks
Yeah.
for letting me know in the 9 different ways you could have let me know.
I mean, I
did.
came back and it was radio dreams. I mean, we'd already run out of anything worth talking about.
Do you? I have this other insecurity where, which is why I do the nature of the program that I do here, and this channel. I want to talk about things that matter a lot. I think doing what you guys do is harder than doing what I do. I've done it, and I do it to some extent. I feel like the only rule for you guys is to be entertaining. Doesn't mean you have to be funny. Just be entertaining. That's what your job is. And mine, and for some reason I think, I'm trying to be both entertaining and make things that might bore people, or, they might not otherwise be interesting. And Ron, certainly you cover, a day like today with the church shooting, you're going to talk about that in your way, right?
What's there to me to say? I'm against it. Seriously, there's only two kind of calls that you get
Holocaust,
today.
Pros and cons?
No, here's what you do. You get the two calls today. You're going to get the calls of, hey, we need to get rid of guns in this country. And then the other call is, if everybody in there had a gun, this never would have happened. So why are we doing that? Why
How about this one, though? How about this
The
one?
American people doesn't give a shit who gets shot up where. They don't care.
I don't tackle those type of topics. We'll mention it a little bit, but then we move on quickly. Ron does the same thing.
What's Sherrod going to do with that? Let's be honest.
Sherrod's small. But
I like Sherrod.
Where are you on the Confederate flag that flies over to South Carolina?
Seriously?
You don't like it? You don't want to do that? You won't even talk about it?
Yeah, it's so old. It's so
that
done.
fight,
yes.
You've heard it all.
This is a chance to, if you're doing it, it's pure entertainment to get phone calls from hayseeds and then New York Jews. That's the two things that you want. It's not real.
So you won't even discuss.
No, I will,
shooting.
but it's just.
But I'm interested, and I'll be listening because I'm interested in how you will discuss it in an original way because of what you just said.
I can answer that. I had Piers Morgan on today because we did discuss it.
Yeah,
and Piers obviously wants.
He's an anti-gun guy,
big time.
Yeah.
So he did his thing, which was very obvious, and then we let the other side just hang.
And
I didn't, and now everyone's mad at us because we didn't push back with if everyone had a gun in there, then that one. And I decided, Piers is controversial. He gets people talking and pissed off. Here's his side today, and then boom, that's it.
But do you think he means it, or is that's his gimmick?
I think he means it.
Why don't you have Piers on today?
Why would I? I could give two fucks what Piers Morgan has to say.
What about Don Lemon?
Don Lemon.
I really don't care about that.
You could have Don
stuff.
on. He's a black guy. Don Lemon from CNN.
But is that what that's to go around and do the same thing that they're already doing on CNN and MSNBC? Who gives a shit?
It's a long.
You could get Jenny Hutt on it.
It's a long game of tug of war.
No, that's our show.
With no winner in the end.
It means a lot.
I want to just see if there's listeners here. I'm going to give out prizes to the first listeners that call.
The first listeners that listen to this?
That listen. Call over.
So go over to
866-766-0339. I'm just going to say it once, and let's see what happens.
So call Ron, and his show is on Sirius XM Comedy Hits, Channel 99. Right now it starts. Ron Bennington.
So let's just see if I just wasted an hour. First of all, I don't feel like I wasted the first 45. I think we were in the pocket. But this last 15, we never should have done.
I appreciate you coming back. I appreciate both of you coming in here.
Thank you.
It means a lot to me. Thank you both.
All right.
Hey, not every show works.
Don't use plastic bottles.
Yeah.